Here lately, I've been seeing a lot of videos and truthers out there saying that Jesus never existed and that his entire existence was a hoax. And it's some charismatic truthers out there who have started this, and it's starting to spread, and I've seen it spread, and I've looked at comments and people who are saying they're awake, and I really want to address this because it's more important than the shape of the earth, and it has to do with the Messiah, the Son of the Most High. And his existence, I will go ahead and tell you, was not a hoax. But when you look at his image and how it has changed and who has influenced this change, things will start making a lot of sense. And you look here, you see people like Pope over here who worship Satan and openly do so, wearing crosses all the time and having these graven images of the Messiah hanging on the cross. Yet they also show openly to everyone that they work for Lucifer. They have it in some of their songs, even though it's in Latin or whatever. You can openly just look into it without even searching too hard to find out that they don't work for Yahuwah, the Father, at all whatsoever. And the Messiah's image is always altered and changed, or they sort of make fun of him and take on that image. Some mockery things here you see with Kanye West, his version of him being the Messiah, someone who's admittedly sold their soul. And you look at paintings of Jesus, which is a name that has only been around for a few hundred years. The name Jesus is not very old because he wasn't actually called that. I don't want to get into the whole name debate, but his name when he walked the earth was not Jesus, so that's a very new name given to him. And I've started seeing him on these magazine covers. I took some pictures of them, of these magazine covers where he is putting up satanic hand symbols. And you can see here, this is what the statue here, this Baphomet statue, is doing. Satanic hand symbols and a lot of these famous old paintings that match up with a lot of the Freemasons and Luciferians from the past. So it's very strange, and those are throwing up some red flags, as they should. But what I want to do first is look at what the most historically verified and scrutinized document known as the Old Testament to us nowadays actually said about him, because it said a lot of things. There were tons of prophecies about an upcoming Messiah. And you can see babies were killed, lots of different things, and eventually it depicts his, and ultimately, it depicts his crucifixion. And crucifixion had yet to be invented when it was prophesied about in the Old Testament. So you can see why these kings and queens are probably freaking out when they realize that they are helping to fulfill these prophecies, and many of them were not too far away from prophecies that had already been fulfilled directly from the Old Testament. So the children being killed was definitely something to stop the Messiah from fulfilling the prophecies and his purpose of doing his Father's will. And that was a really sad thing that happened, and it's not from God. This is from the evil ones that rule this world. There is still child sacrificing going on now, and no, it's not to stop the Messiah from coming. It is just to worship the evil one. And so a lot of that's gone on throughout the past, but I want to look at now a message that the Messiah himself gave us about who the Antichrist, which that's a word most of you are familiar with. The book that I read, the Sefer, translates a lot of the words to their original language, which is pretty cool, but it breaks it down for you. And here it is right here. It says, this is coming from Jesus, or the Mashiach, or Yahusha, whatever you want to call him. But I don't want to get into the name debate in this video. But he says here, little children, in the last time, and as you have heard, that anti-Mashiach, or the Antichrist, shall come. And that word Mashiach just means anointed. They shall come. Even now are there many anti-Mashiachim, whereby we know that it is the last time. Okay? So there were many there at this time. The same powers at work that are at work now, that are giving us so much false information, dividing the children of the Most High, with false doctrines. They were at work back then. It's nothing new. And he was warning us about them. And he said, I have not written unto you because you know not the truth, but because you know it, and that no lie is of the truth. Who is a liar but he that denies that Yahusha is Hamashiach, is anointed? He is the anti-Mashiach that denies, this is the most important part, the Father and the Son. That denies the Father, and the word and is here, it's important, and the Son. Whosoever denies the Son, the same has not the Father, but he that acknowledges the Son has the Father also. So these powers were at work. We were warned about them. They denied the Father and the Son. Well, when Yeshua, or Yahusha, walked the earth, there are certain things we need to know about what he says about himself, what the Father says about him, what the devil and demons said about him, and also who the disciples said he was. And when you look at who Jesus says he is, or who God says Jesus is, he says, this is my beloved Son. He says it more than once. This is my beloved Son. So he refers to the Messiah as his Son. The devil and demons, these powers here that he warned us about, say, if thou be the Son of God. And what have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? They call him the Son of God. And then Jesus says this, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth. He is thanking his Father. And so this Messiah that we learn about is walking this earth and demonstrating a father and son relationship that we have never seen before, an example that we are to live by. And it's amazing how much time he spent, and the way he prayed was nothing like we have been taught with the mainstream religious views. And they put out these very ritualistic prayers, and all of their different denominations and different religions, they try to make it a very routine, repeat this phrase type of relationship, and it wasn't like that at all. The Messiah went to the Father by himself in private. He wasn't praying to be seen. They got used to seeing him go off to the wilderness to spend time with his Father. He wasn't talking to himself. That's important to understand. And he did his Father's will perfectly. And the enemy had the goal of destroying the Father's beloved Son. This was a moment of victory for him. And that's why you see the cross and this graven image of a suffering Messiah throughout the insides of these cathedrals and places like that, because it's a moment of victory. But had they known, because there was some wisdom that was hidden from the princes of this world, and when you look in 1 Corinthians, you'll see it says right here, which none of the princes of this world knew, for had they known it, they would not have crucified the Lord of glory. They didn't know what that would do for us and what it would do for them. The type of power and love and grace that was poured out and shown for us who are unworthy, we did not deserve that everything was pointing to and leading to. They did not know what would happen. If they had known, they would not have crucified him, the beloved Son of the Most High, who had done nothing wrong. But too many people were waking up to truth when they were seeing the Father's will played out and finding out that death was not the Father's will, that death was the enemy, that healing was the Father's will, and that through faith and trust, which the word faith just means trust, that great things were happening. And the people who went on to teach about this, persecuted and burned and murdered like crazy. And they wouldn't have been murdered by the Roman emperor and many, many more if they were running around teaching fairy tales and something that was a hoax. Yes, the New Testament is newer than the Old Testament, but those words have been well documented and preserved in many different places, and they all match up. And if you find something that seems to not match up, you need to investigate it, figure out what that translation was originally, and get to the bottom of it, because sometimes things don't seem to make sense, and with all of the different translations, it's easy to get lost. But the Messiah did come. He did fulfill the prophecies. He did rise again on the third day. And the Father loved us so much that He sent Him to us. He sent His Son. You can't send something if you don't already have it. He had a beloved Son. He sent Him to us. We didn't deserve it, but He sent Him anyways. A gift given to be raised up. And that's the truth of the matter. Yes, they've corrupted His image. They have merged Him with the Father so that people would worship Him as if He were the Father. He is the Son, the beloved Son, and He did His Father's will perfectly. When He said, "Not my will, but yours be done," He was speaking to His Father. He had so many moments of pain. He was tempted. The Father Himself can't be tempted, but the Messiah was tempted, just like you and I. And He had to overcome and be that sacrificial lamb. And that's where the grace was given to you and I. We have an example to live by. We need to use this example. Get out, spend time with the Father, find out what He wants for us. Not our will, but His will be done. I hope this makes a lot of sense. There's so many more things that are going into this that you don't see. But there are so many teachings that are of the spirit of the Antichrist that deny the Father and the Son. If you deny the Son, that is of the spirit of the Antichrist. If you have something like evolution or Big Bang, anything like that that denies the Father, it also denies the Son. If you merge the two, you deny both of them. And the Roman Catholics who had that doctrine voted in did so knowing that it would most likely become mainstream. They're desperate. The truth was spreading so fast, they had to do something. And with their craftiness, they have literally transformed mainstream Christianity. They changed the days of worship, they've altered our calendars, lots of things. You need to be suspicious about the things that have been altered and changed after the Messiah left to be with the Father. So keep doing your research. Go to the Father. Let the Holy Spirit be your guide. Don't just cite YouTube videos as truth. The Holy Spirit is here to cut out all the lies. Hope this message finds you at a time of need. Thank you for always being a blessing to us. Love you guys. The Father loves you. Thanks for all that you do. You are a beloved creation of the Most High.